Here, give me a second.
Let's see, how do I do this?
Playing with the new camera here.
Let's get this going. There it is.
Is
it
frozen though?
I may have
to go away from my fancy camera here. Let's try this again. I'm gonna shut it off.
And I'm gonna turn it on. And see if we have, there it is. Got
a better camera now. And I like it. I think it looks good. Man. All right, now we're up and running. Welcome to the live show. This is the winter stream of all things wings. Excited to be here. My name's Nate Allball. I am a high school football coach here in Illinois. Have been for 20 years. You believe that? 20 years. And I'm praying like crazy. Let me see. Praying like crazy to make sure that we get a season this year. Nervous about this, of course, but would like to get a season. When you get here, check in. Let us know where you're watching from. I'm echoing. All right, good to know. Give me a sec. Check. There it is.
Right there. Shut that off. Okay, good catch, Coach Freeman. Thanks for letting me know. Tell me if that's better. It should be better. Let me know, guys, if my sound is good and if I have stopped the echo. Again, Nate Allbaugh here, high school football coach here in Illinois. This is the winter stream of all things wings. Stream number 5. Still an echo? All right, fellas. Thank you for letting me know. Stay patient, please. Yeah, okay. I'm good now. I'm good. Okay, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Fellas, welcome. Coach Campos in the house. Coach Freeman in the house. Coach Carper out of Memphis, Missouri. Welcome, Coach. A new face, Scott Johnson in the house. Scott, have you been with us before? Some of these names, I'm like, maybe. I think that I've seen them before, but I don't want to assume. It's a lot. It's been a lot of nights, and once in a while, it usually takes me, once you've been in 3 or 4 nights, I start getting used to you, and I remember you. Carper, thanks for checking in, and Coach Johnson, let me know where you're from. I may know you already. You may have told me that before, but I'd love to know again. Coach McDonald out of Fort Myers, Florida. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't mind being in Fort Myers right now rather than Champaign, Illinois, because it was so cold this morning. It was actually a nice day. Got up to almost 40, and I just remember how cold it was this morning. Ryan Winkler in the house. Welcome. Brandon Sneed out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Fellas, have I got a great guest for you tonight, Adam Matheson. I've never met him. I just keep hearing good things about him. I got him on the show. What's up, Coach Allbaugh out of Georgia? I got him on the show, and then I kept hearing great things. Oh, you got Mathieson? Oh, you got Matheson? This is going to be great. He calls this stuff the left coast spread wing tee. I'm excited to hear this. If you haven't been here before, we always check in. Leave us a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Yeah, that's right. Got the Sox hat on tonight, Coach McDonald. The Sox hat. Let me shout out my sponsor, and then we'll get Coach Matheson in here. We'll start talking ball. Coach Stone Football is my sponsor. Lay a foundation by going back to the basics with Coach Stone Football. Coach Stone has over 15 books available to purchase on Amazon. Want more information about Back to the Basics Football Drill Manual Series and new CSF Coaching Magazine? Then go to his website, CoachStoneFootball.com, or follow him on Twitter at Coach_Stone_MT. Tell you what, fellas, if you worked with you years ago, you helped me with the 3-3-5 defense in 2017, but I've been on from time to time out of Tracy, California. Welcome, Coach Johnson. Glad that really appreciate your support. And, of course, you follow on our 3-3-5, which I haven't gotten to talk a lot of 3-3-5 lately. There's been a lot of wing tee stuff. Coach Mann out of New York. Fellas, I did want to tell you before I bring Coach on, if you click share and tweet this out on Twitter, just tag us at the Chief Pigskin. Hey, I'm hanging out with at the Chief Pigskin tonight. Anybody that does that, we'll shoot you a $30 gift card to our store, $30 to our store. That'll get you a free video. Some incredible stuff on there. We want my recommendations. I'll give you some recommendations. There's some stuff on there that's fire. But just click share, shout us out on Twitter, $30. right? $30. Just let them know that you're hanging out with us. We just want guys to know that this has been a fun place to be. We're getting Coach Matheson in here now. And as soon as I get him here, I'll switch over to my speaker view. Coach Matheson, how are you? Let's get him in.
I'm great and getting better. Nate, how are you doing? Can you hear me?
Man, yes, I'm doing really well and happy to have you, man. I'm trying to hide self-view. There we go. Fixing my scene right here. Coach Matheson, I've heard so many good things about you. Now, when I look at your Twitter, it just says you're from the Northwest.
Yeah.
Give me some more specifics. Where are you from, Coach?
That's a great question. Specifically right now, I'm in Vancouver, Washington, which is on the Columbia River, basically separates Vancouver from Oregon, or, from Portland, Oregon, Washington from Oregon there. They built a bridge back in the 1980s that connected the suburbs to the airport in Portland, and all the business people moved into Vancouver and then accessed Portland. And so I'm coaching there. I've been here about a decade. I grew up on the eastern side of the state in Spokane, and then went to college, and my early career coaching was about 10 miles south of the Canadian border up in Bellingham, Washington area. So I've bounced around the entire state.
And so what's the name of your current school?
So I'm at Mountain View High School. I'm the athletic director and football coach. I've been here 14 years now, 13 as a coach, 14 as the AD. I came a year early as the athletic director and then moved into the football job.
Mountain View High School. I feel like I've heard of that. Have you ever played Auburn, Washington?
Yeah, we played him at Husky Stadium a couple years ago. Gordy Elliott,
Yes.
longtime coach there. Gordy's actually the one who got me in some of this mess by recommending me for the Glazier circuit going back X amount of years ago. But Gordy's a longtime speaker with some 3-3-5 defense and some fly sweep stuff. But so we played Auburn a couple times.
That's where I've heard of you from, because I listened to, this would have been getting close to 10 years ago now, but I saw Gordon Elliott. I was at a Glazier in Denver and listened to Gordon Elliott, huge fan, and then followed him for several years after that. So that's where I heard of you, Coach. Well, welcome to the show. We just hang out for 30 minutes. We just get to know you a little bit. We always end up talking ball, of course, but for the most part, we're just kind of hanging out. So I hope that you'll enjoy that. I don't want to waste any time. We kind of try to balance our conversation between you and our chat. Anybody in the chat, feel free to shoot out any questions, or of course answer any questions that I ask Coach. A lot of times we've got our own separate conversation going on over in the chat, separate from our conversation. Coach, did you watch any of the game last night, the national championship?
It's so funny because I knew you'd ask that question, and I'm probably the only coach in America that did not. Because yesterday we were set to play our football season in mid-March. Mm-hmm. And yesterday news broke that they moved us up to February 1. So I spent the evening hunkered down in my office. In fact, the last 2 nights. In fact, my wife brought me dinner into the office at school, and I'm typing up schedules and emails and Facebook posts, etc., trying to figure out how to get everyone cleared and ready to rock and roll in 10 days, assuming we go up one more phase on our COVID metrics here locally. But,
my goodness.
So I checked in on the score every now and then, but was not able to watch it because my duties to this school went first.
Well, here's what you missed. Alabama is loaded.
Yes.
They are loaded. It is ridiculous. Coach, let's just jump in, man. Hey, high school sports. Tell us what high school sports you played.
Yeah, so in high school specifically, I was track and football.
Track and football. And what were your events in track?
So I was a sprinter. I was a 100-meter, 200-meter relay guy. So decent at it. I mean, you go back and date yourself, but I was a 10-7, 10-7, 10-6 hand timed, 10-8, 10-9 electronic.
Come on, you ran a 10-7?
Yeah. Coach. If the internet was around, I could still find some proof of it, but I've got some proof of that. But,
come on, how long were you still outrunning your kids at practice? Are you still doing it?
No, a couple years ago, I was playing free safety in practice. You turn your hat on backwards and you're explaining how easy it is to cover a seam route. And about 10 yards into the transition, I felt something that wasn't pleasant. And you kind of got to play it off and give a water break.
Yeah.
But I have not tried to pick him up and put him down in about 5 or 6 years.
10-7 is moving. Coach, I had good speed, but I couldn't touch that. And I know that I spent years and years when I was younger kind of outrunning my whole team. So I can't imagine if I had real speed like that. Hey, you're I'm skipping around a little bit.
Yeah, you're
Most
good.
offensive points you've ever scored in a game?
As a coach or a player?
As a coach.
Gosh. In the 60s. I will never go to 70, and I don't like to go to 60. I will never go to 70.
Call
We'll
off
find
the
a way to
dogs.
back off. We've got a 40-point rule, and if I get into 50, 55 to 10 or something, I start twitching. Like, it's not pleasant. I've been on the other side of those as you're building stuff up. And
haven't you ever been in a shootout though, where you're scoring and they're scoring?
Oh yeah, we lost a game once where we had 500 some odd yards of offense, scored maybe 45, 46 points, and we gave up in the 60s. And it was, I don't know what it was, 48 to 63 or something. And that's the only time I think we've ever given up more than about 40 or 50. But yeah, those were fun, and they got away from us late, so it was a fun game. I mean, that game was, 20 to 20, 30 to 30, 40 to 40, and then they got away from us late.
Coach, pick two hats back there and tell us about them.
Yeah, good question. The Oregon hat on my shoulder over here is John Neal's hat. Actually, there's a JN in there. He's a longtime defensive back coach at the University of Oregon, and you spent a lot of time down there when Bellotti was the coach, and then into Chip and so forth. And I was down there one time without a hat on, watching practice for a few days, and he noticed my forehead was bright red, so he gave me his hat.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then probably the second one over my shoulder there was a Husky hat that came from Jake Locker, who good friend of mine now, but was my quarterback when I was the head coach at Ferndale High School going back in the early 2000s. And so that's how this whole thing started, was the hats on the wall were originally hats of young men that went to play, professionally or in college. And then it grew to buddies of mine that coached in college, and they got angry I didn't have their hat. And then it just became a hat collection where people would bring me hats. So
that's awesome.
Every hat does have a story.
Jake Locker played for you?
Yeah, I was head coach at Ferndale High School up in the early 2000s. And, the home of Doug Peterson, Jake Locker, those guys up there, great historical football program. And I was 27 years old, first year head coach, taking over from Hall of Famer Vic Randall, legendary coach up in Washington. And we went 9-2, 10-2, something like that. Went to the quarterfinals. I had a sophomore quarterback, Jake Locker, and I decided to leave that spring and go coach in college, which shows why I should not be on this show, because I am not in the elite of intellect.
Hey, how long did it take for you to look around and go, dude, this Locker kid is a freak?
It's funny because we had him as a freshman and we started him at defensive back, and he played corner for us. And you're like, he's pretty good. He made a lot of plays, was an all-leaguer kicker, returning kicks and stuff. And then his sophomore year, he was a quarterback, and I was the head coach his sophomore year. And, by the end of the year, you started to see it. You get to week 8, 9, or 10, and you're kind of like, hey, we're going to run quarterback sweep over there. Good luck. And we ended up, winning 10 games, which you look back now and you go, it was a lot easier to win 10 games with him than it is, a lot of other places, and players really do matter. But just a great kid. And then I left, and I came back and saw him as a junior, and he had grown. When he was a freshman, he was 6'1", 130. And when he was a senior, he was 6'3", 220. He put on 100 pounds. And, he threw the baseball 98 miles an hour and was a draftable kid in baseball. And, I mean, just a great athlete, good student, and great parents, fun to coach.
Wow, man.
Now he stores my boat up at his house.
Look at that, man. Hey, it's good to have friends. Coach, let's start talking some football. What the heck is the left coast spread wing tee?
Yeah, that's a good question. I got a coach on staff, Ben Mathieson, who's kind of our Twitter guy and everything. And he came up with it at a clinic a couple years ago, just making stuff up. The reality is our offense was rooted, going back, to be honest, with Jake in 2003. Vic was a highly successful, Coach Randall, highly successful wing tee coach. And when I inherited Jake as a quarterback, I love the offense, love the gap blocking, but I couldn't process handing the ball off. Like, you got the best player that I've ever seen handing the ball off to lesser players. And so you start trying to find a way to get him in the shotgun and do some, turn him into the runner, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And then I was a run and shoot quarterback in high school. And so, double slots, double wings, old Mouse Davis stuff. And so you're trying to figure out how to mirror or how to marry, what amounted to the left coast or the old West Coast, right? Which, running backs out in the flat, slant routes, quick game, standard West Coast stuff that became the air raid after that. So you're basically trying to marry the air raid, the West Coast offense with gap blocking plays. And we kind of went on a journey for 20 years trying to figure out how we could legitimately run an under center offense and a shotgun offense that was the exact same for the offensive line, but could take advantage. We could shrink if we had to, but if we had a Jake Locker, then you could expand and do different things. And so we've spent the better part of 20 years trying to come up with something, and that stuck. And I don't know, it was never meant probably to be public. It was us messing around at a clinic, but that's kind of what it became, and that's probably the descriptor.
Yeah, I mean, it's always good just to give it some sort of a cool name. I mean, it's a great name, so roll with it. We got a bunch of guys in the chat. Guys, thanks for checking in. Coach Gardner has checked in out of Utah. Happy to have you. Coach J. Mann out of New York. Welcome, Coach Mann. Glad to have you here. Anybody else, if you're just getting here, make sure you check in. Let us know where you're watching from. Hey, the benefit of being live, if you are, and Coach, how do you say your last name?
Matheson.
I just want to make sure I was saying it right, if it wasn't some different pronunciation. If you've followed Coach Mathieson for a while, it's a great opportunity to shout out a question. We can make sure that we ask him. Do not hesitate, folks. Also, last chance, click that share button down below, shout it out on Twitter, and you get $30 gift card, whatever you call it, at our store at store.chiefpigskin.com. Greg Ferguson out of Little Rock. Welcome, Coach Ferguson. Thanks for being here. When I was looking through the stuff that you've done, Coach, one thing stuck out, because the people that know me or that talk ball with me a lot know that I'm kind of a crisscross, like I'm in love with the crisscross.
It might, Coach, that might be the only reason why I'm not running pistol type stuff or whatever, because I love
you don't want to lose it.
I love it.
And that's the thing, because I got buddies and they always kind of brush over it. Like, yeah, we run counter, not crisscross, but I'm getting the same thing. And I always stop them. I'm like, whoa. You're not getting the same thing. But anyway, the thing that caught my eye is when one video that you have over on CoachTube that said RPOs off crisscross.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Yeah, in our initial, like, we do a bunch of stuff obviously off of, what buck sweep type stuff, different second, third level RPOs and stuff. Our foundation, just going back, a decade ago when we first worked with, Coach Murphy out at Capitol in Montana and stuff, was just simple screen stuff, right? So to be able to line up with 2 receivers weak, a split in and a slot, and tight end and wing strong with a halfback weak, and to be able to go, hey, is the slot receiver or the X receiver, is he covered or uncovered, right? Does the linebacker walk out there and cover him or not? Does the, if you're on the boundary, we usually run some kind of smoke screen. Is the corner within 7 yards or not, right? Are they uncovered? And if not, you throw the ball. If not, then you're going to work the crisscross, and then we progressed from, so that's kind of one version, right? Simple uncovered now screen type stuff, or the crisscross. And we do double hand it, right? And so now you've got the gun, you got the shotgun snap, and you got the double handoff with the waggle action out. And then we progress where we get teams, playing a 6-tech or a head up or something, and they were going to chase us on the crisscross. And you get a Division I defensive end. So then we kind of got into some of the bash type concepts where we'd pull on crisscross and arc the wing, and the wing was going to block force, it was going to log force, right? And you were going to basically have pre-snap screen, and you were going to have a dummy look with the halfback coming across your face. And if the defensive end chased the crisscross, then you'd hand it to the back on a sweep with the wing. If he sat at all, then the quarterback would just pull it and run quarterback counter. So it was a way to kind of get a counter tray meets crisscross, and all we did was add the word read to it. So it was crisscross read. And now you're going to have pre-snap screen, or post-snap, you're going to read the defensive end. And if he sits, so you can run the sweep, and then that wing now is going to go log the corner, and you're going to leave the safety unblocked and just sprint to the sideline, or you're going to read the defensive end. And if the defensive end sits at all, then the quarterback's just going to run the counter back to the weak side.
I want to let our guys in the chat know what's up. Tommy Beeson in the house, Justin Wanzek out of Fargo, and Mark Corey out of Northern California. Coach Beeson, I see your question. I'm going to get to that. I'm going to ask Coach one more question on crisscross. Coach, as a base, when you're first teaching crisscross, one of the great things about crisscross when you're under center is that quarterback booting hard.
Yep.
stretches that, right? It gives you that horizontal stretch, which creates that huge seam.
Yep.
Out of the gun, what is helping you get that horizontal stretch?
So we reverse pivot and waggle him. So we set the deck in front. If you can see my hands.
Yeah.
We reverse pivot. So crisscross is married to waggle.
Okay.
Because that'll pull that outside backer and potentially even the eyes of the safety. So if you end up squirting that thing up the B gap, we've had clips where the safety will actually overrotate. Like, why is the quarterback booting so hard? And one thing, any wing T guy will say is defenses respond to speed, right? So if you can get your quarterback to set the deck early, to that halfback with a basket handoff and then waggle out, and you do it aggressively, then you can hold the outside backer, a nickel or whatever, and also maybe even the alley safety. So we don't come downhill. Like when we run buck, we're going to read the 5 or read the 3 and come downhill, or we're going to hinge the tackle and read a second level player for a receiver. But when we run crisscross, it's married to waggle for the quarterback.
That's what I was wondering.
And we reverse out on waggle. We don't front out. So I like back to the line of scrimmage.
I'd ride this and then just let that momentum take me.
Pinwheel around. Absolutely.
I like that a lot.
You're going to reach hard to your guard area, right? To get it to him early and just use that momentum to swing yourself all the way back around.
How about that running back? How's he taking that handoff? Open-handed?
Basket with him still, thumbs down, basket handoff, and then a normal handoff to the wing back.
Right. Okay.
Normal elbow handoff to the wing back.
Oh, I keep kicking my camera here. Tommy Beeson in the house asks, Coach, can you walk us through how you call name formations in the left coast wing T?
Yeah, so we're old school, and that's where I say I don't know what they are. I do now because I've learned them, but I don't really know what 100, 900 is, things like that. I learned it wing right, wing left. So for us, we've got, wing right is tight end and wing to the right. We've got a tailback behind the quarterback. We've got a halfback offset and then a split end. And we very specifically called a tailback. It came up again today where we had a short, stocky kid say, Coach, I play fullback. And I was like, we don't have fullbacks. Like, we want fast home run hitters. So that doesn't work for us. We got to play guard or play linebacker or something else. So we have halfbacks and tailbacks because they're fast. And we would just call it wing right because our linemen we've got weak linemen and strong linemen. So we will flop them. Like, we're not right and left. We're very specific. Our quick side linemen are more of our screen guys and speed option guys and guys out on fast screens and tunnel screens. And our strong side guys are more of our down blockers, which does tip some things, but we feel like we've got, we can still stretch them sideline to sideline. So like that set would be wing right. We would be wing left if it was opposite. If we wanted to go to a 2x2 set and pull the fullback player out, the tailback for us, but we move the quarterback back and we put a receiver in and we would call that dose right. That's 2x2. If we had motion, we'd go dose right Zorro, and that means the Z is going to motion to a second halfback, or something like that. So it's kind of old school football, and that's probably more the West Coast type stuff where you're telling people what to do. We're going to let's go dose right, 90, A fade, scissors, H flash.
Like a John Gruden call.
Like that's a play call, except we've made it 3 hand signals.
Okay.
Or whatever. But if you actually did the verbiage, we used to call it like that 8-9 years ago, and now it's going to come out where it's only, most of our plays we try to keep under 4 hand signals.
Okay, under
Hope
4
that
hands.
answered that, Coach.
No, it did. It definitely. Well, answered it for me. I wonder, Tommy Beeson, if you have any more questions, be sure to ask. Ben Johnson in the house out of Evansville, Indiana. Jason Eddings in the house out of Southern California. Welcome, guys. Happy to have everybody here watching. Like, subscribe, and leave us some good feedback. And if you're not watching this live, hey, comment below. There are links to Coach Matheson's videos right below this video if you'd like to see what he's been up to and the stuff that he has over on CoachTube. Coach, as I look, like there's so much there. What, in your opinion, when you're asked to describe how you move the ball, what are your bread and butter stuff? What's the 1-2?
And I didn't know it would come back to this, but I'll just look at our call card. On our call card, one thing we talk about at halftime that we have specific boxes for is on the weak side, we have to know the best formation to run belly, right? Is it a wing closed set, like a 3-man surface? Is it open? Is it gun? What is it? Like, how do we run belly? How do we run crisscross? Like, those are our weak plays. We've got to figure out what are the formations that we can run belly and crisscross. And then strong, how do we run buck? We call it double trap because 2 guards are pulling. I don't know where we got that from, but how do we run buck and how do we run power? And that could be power read, that could be whatever. But those plays, buck strong with power read strong, or power if you're under center, right? Normal power. And then belly and crisscross, because those really set up all our stuff, right? I mean, buck's going to set up pop and waggle, crisscross plays with waggle, buck sets up quick screen on the backside, belly sets up belly pop pass, like, some of those things. So those are our 4 run plays. And then, we've kind of, several years ago, we said our goal was to be the best screen team in America. And I think our screen package is really, really good. Quick screens and tunnel screens and directional screens and now screens. And then what happened was, because the goal was we wanted to be able to stretch the defense out horizontally. That was the whole deal, right? We wanted to be able to move the field sideline to sideline. So we went and spread sets and said, let's throw a perimeter screen game and then throw some go routes. And that was really where we were. And then we felt like, we've stretched them out, but we're missing this intermediate area of the field, right? We're totally missing the dig area, the sail routes, the dig routes. We were either running screen or goes. Stretch them out. If they play off, throw screens. Stretch them out. If they play close, throw goes. And then we were realizing, man, we're missing the whole middle of the field. So then we kind of developed our intermediate package, our post dig type stuff, with mesh and shallow and all the air raid type stuff. And if someone asked me to speak and said, hey, what do you want to speak on? My go-tos that I just love to talk about would be our screen game and our intermediate pass game, because I think they changed our offense, right? The screen game was easy and anyone can do it. And then the investment in our intermediate game, moved us to a 2,500, 3,000 yard passing team. A couple of years ago in 18, I think we ran the ball for 3,200 yards and threw for 2,900. And that was really, that intermediate game is kind of what changed us and solidified, okay, we're ready to do this now.
Now, the problem with the intermediate game, Coach, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like maybe that takes the most amount of repetition?
It does. A ton, Coach, and which is probably why I've fallen in love with 7-on-7 and not from I used to like it because we put all our coverages in and we never played 2-man and we'd learn our coverages. But in Washington, we do our spring ball and then we get to go to a college camp, minus COVID. We get to have some 20 days of practice in the spring and then 7-on-7 in the summer. And we basically install our offense in the spring and summer. And then we put our defense in. We'll get 30 outings when you count camp. We're allowed 20 outings. So we get 20 outings, but by the time you do camp, 2-a-days and 7-on-7 terms at night, you're getting 30 chances to play 7-on-7. And so we're putting all that in the spring and summer. And then in the fall, it's all just refinement. Like the scheme is there. And we spend most of our practice time, to be honest, on defense. But no, you're right. And it took us a long time to really hone in, like how much is too much, right? Because every scheme, like this has been the worst off season for coaches on the West Coast ever. Your playbook is miles high. And, but we really tried to focus on how do we post dig combos and scissor combos and unders and overs. And R4, to be honest, I like to tip my hat to people, Dub and those guys, Johnny and Dub with R4 helped us. We're a progression read team, and we were able, I felt, to become a full field read team, where in the old days it was pick a side. And then if you didn't like the slant flat combo on one side, what do you do now? Well, now to go slant flat on one side with a dig and an arrow on the other, all of a sudden you can turn it into a full field read, keep under 3 seconds. And it's been really good for us.
Man, okay. This is big. There's a lot going on here. I don't know where to focus on my next question. I'm going to think for a second. Guys in the chat, welcome. Hey, Coach Gardner in the house says he calls buck sweep double trap because of you, Coach. That's what Coach Gardner out of Utah says. So.
Hey, and if that's my guy, who I think it is, I met him in it was Reno, I believe, doing a chalk war. And I don't know if that's Coach Gardner or not, but I was doing a chalk war, I think, with Coach Gower out of Oklahoma, who's now in Texas. And Coach Gardner was the cheering section in the back.
That sounds like Coach Gardner. I'll bet it was him. Did he have a big beard?
Yes.
Well,
could have been Arizona. I can't remember where
we're out of time, but we're going to go over a minute or two here, Coach. I want to ask what I have circled on here. There's like 50 ways I could take my next question, but I got to pick one. When you say, so I've started to fall a little bit more in love with screens and just kind of the realization of how easy they are to throw, right? Like it just is. They're just easy to throw, and they're a game changer, and they're a nightmare to defend. When you say directional screen, what do you mean?
So our directional screen is our running back stuff. So we've got to have a running back in. So if we're in a 2x2 set, we're actually going to run our receivers off. So they run go route. So our slot and our X, they're going to run off. Our running, let's say they're on the left. I got a split end left, a slot left, and a running back left. Tight end right with a wing right. And the way we do it is we're actually going to run a stick combination strong. So we're going to run the tight end on a little hookup route, 5 yards off the line, 2 yards outside of his alignment. And we're going to run an arrow by the wing. So the quarterback's going to go punch plan on his drop, and he's going to rhythm that stick route. If it's there, great. If not, he's going to retreat and throw a 2-count directional screen to the running back, who's going to, go up and pass pro 1,000, 2,000. Our tackles are going to stick, first guards out, centers out, backside guards out, and they're running a directional screen up the weak alley from that standpoint, which is the same blocking we do on middle screen. And so the ball isn't thrown in the box, it's thrown slightly outside the box in the same spot a receiver would be if he was coming in for the middle screen. But we used to run that stuff with everyone running off. And it was like, why are we wasting 2 seconds of valuable football time? Why not read a stick combination or something on the strong side, some kind of quick game combination, and then come back to the directional screen?
Man, Coach, I'll tell you what, this does not sound like a high school offense. This is like big boy, big time offense. Do you ever catch yourself going, well, how do you know, like this? I'll just shoot straight. When I listen to you talk, I think, there's no way I could install all this. Like you're talking about full field reads, and I'm spending most of my time trying to run the ball, right? And, we have a passing game. We want to be good at it. But I'm like, where are you finding the time to do all this? This sounds like a lot. So help me understand, what am I missing? How are you getting all this done? Because I don't doubt you. I just want to know.
Yeah, no, so think about it. We've got, like I said, we're allowed 20 days in the off season. We call it spring ball, but basically the state track meet ends in May, and we get 20 days in the state of Washington. Now your kids can do 1,000 days, but we get 20 days. So think about college spring ball, and you get 15 days, and you're on offense for that whole time, right? So when we run our spring ball, our 20 days, we are on offense for about 18 of those days. So we've got 2.5 hour practices for 18 days. And then we put in our 4-2-5, which is really a 4-4 with small people. We put in our 4-4 cover 3 on defense, and we go to work. Like, that's what the defense that goes in. That's it. Like, not a lot going on with the defense. We can line up and we can play 7-on-7. That's it. So those 18 days times 2 hours, that's 40 hours of offense, right?
Right.
Now, our young kids learn the wing T, and then outside of speed option, we don't add a run play. So our young kids, they know buck, trap, and we run it. You got some different calls and stuff, but we run those plays. So then you're just adding the pass components to it. But I think about it installing, I spent 2 years as a college quarterback coach. We basically pretend we're only an offensive staff in the spring. My defensive coaches hate it because I do make them come to practice and wander around. Right. But we install it in the spring. And then in the fall, when we can do 2-a-days, those first 3 or 4 days, and I know I'm going over, Coach, but it's we spend those first 3 or 4 days, so 8 practices, we spend 6 of those 8 on offense, like review, like it's in. Then during the season, it's all review. So, we've spent 24 2-hour practices on nothing but offense, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And we've tried to, like I said, we've tried to recycle parts where a directional screen and a middle screen is the same thing, except for one guy. Is the receiver coming or is the back coming?
Yeah.
So for the other guys, it's the exact same play.
There's honestly, there's just an art to, it's part of teaching. It is what it is. If you do a good job teaching it, you can teach a lot.
Yes.
If you don't do a good job teaching it, you have to go back and teach it again, right? So there's an art to it.
If we've joked, like, how would we ever, if we ever took this, you get some call and for some reason you're moved to go somewhere else, where would we start with the install? And I go, I don't have any idea. I don't know it, so again, that's where 12 years, and I've got 10 teachers, which, like in Texas, that's required, but in Washington, it's not. But I've got 10 teachers in my building that I've hired. I've got another 6 coaches on staff that were alumni that played for us. And then I've got 2 walk-up coaches. So 16 of my 18 coaches have been here a decade, which does speed it up.
Coach, how big is your program? How many kids you guys have in it, 9 through 12?
120, not huge.
Okay.
I mean, some of the bigger, we have a 6 classifications in our state, and we would be in the second to biggest. We're running 1,600 to 1,800 kids in our school.
Okay. Pretty good size, though, obviously.
3 programs, 120 kids.
2 platoon? Like, are your kids learning both sides of the ball?
We learn both sides, but we do have a rule. Our offensive linemen can only play one way the first 2 series of each half, and then they can play on the D-line, but we've got to get those adjustments done the first 2 series, and then they can play defense. Now, we try to – I mean, we've had as many as 8 two-way guys and as few as 1 or 2. You know, ideally, I want less.
Sure.
But our practice is set up where that wouldn't really matter. I mean, we're in the fall, we're going to spend an hour and a half on defense and about 45 or 50 minutes on offense. But again, you're just refining stuff.
So, okay, you got a second? I got
Coach,
one more question. Go ahead.
And let me say this too. Kids that transfer to us, I will admit, have a hard time getting on the field on offense.
Yeah, I can understand that.
It's built like a Gonzaga basketball or something where you're playing with older kids oftentimes.
Yeah.
You don't get a lot of one and dones on our offense.
But I love that. I mean, you know, when it takes time for a kid to earn his time on that offensive field, and let's face it, kids will pay a high price to play offensive football. They just will. The last question, I'm over, guys. I'm so sorry. I'm 6 minutes over, but I got this one more question I got to ask you, Coach, because I used to be super multiple. I then became extremely conservative and not multiple at all. And I'm trying right now to kind of, force my wings back open. Help me understand this. When it comes time to like whatever your true team time is, when you are this multiple, how do you set that script? How do you know what to rep? Because you can't rep everything you do when you do a lot.
Yeah, good question. And so I guess our main philosophy is we don't like to break the tight end and wing. Like that's what it amounts to. So, those 7 guys, the 5 linemen, the tight end, the wing, they don't care whether we're in a wing set, a spread set, or an empty set. So on Monday, we work our heavy plays. On Tuesday, it's our base plays, which would be normal wing tee. On Wednesday, it's our spread stuff. And then on Thursday, it's all of it. And so, but for those guys, they ran buck sweep on Monday, they ran it on Tuesday, they ran it on Wednesday. So we actually rifle through a script. I mean, we're hurry up, no huddle, we're going. I mean, we run every run and screen play that we have, we run every day. And then it's the pass stuff that, we're quick game. We do red zone stuff on Monday. We do quick game Tuesday. We do intermediate Wednesday. And those are just like fast 10-minute shots that we're doing. And then we'll do, we do a ton of time on bags. And then, time on air with our timing and stuff. And we steal time, right? I mean, you got to walk through here or there that you're doing before school and stuff like that. So I don't count that offensive time in like practice, but because it's we don't feel like we have to fully tempo it. As long as we know our foot patterns, then we're good. And I think you can do a ton if you package it right. The perimeter guys can handle lots of information. And the whole point of our offense was, outside of keeping Crisscross engaged, is I don't break the tight end and wing a lot, which is why, like I heard Rick talk the other day with pistol and different. I love some pistol stuff because I like going downhill. I'd love to run some sniffer inside zone, but we run a lateral halfback in our wing stuff. So in our spread stuff, he's going to be lateral. We run a tight end and wing, so I don't open him very much. We do for a few things, but you're really just trying to window dress with some screens and some routes. And we don't have a running back go play receiver. So when we're working our wing tee time, those wide receivers who are personnel grouped are on the other end of the field doing wide receiver stuff. They're not standing around doing nothing. So they're getting the work in on that day. Even if we're doing heavy time, the receivers are working on their stuff in wide receiver land.
I like that. I'll tell you what, Coach, I'm not a very good host when I really start thinking a lot. And I'm thinking so hard about all that you're doing. I'm excited about it. And I'm like, okay, how could I? So I got to stop thinking about my own offense as I'm trying to put this in. Cause I can't think that fast. Coach, you got so much going on. I'm such a huge fan. I've got a million circles and exclamation points and underlines on my notes here. Super excited to have met you.
We can do it again or hit me up later. We'll, anything you want to go through.
Okay, man. Well, tomorrow night, fellas, we are live tomorrow night, and we're live with one of Illinois' very best flexbone programs in Cary Grove High School in the Chicago suburbs with Brad Seberg. So if you have any interest in option football, we've got an option Jedi basically in the house tomorrow night. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't. We'll catch you tomorrow night. Coach Matheson, any closing thoughts?
No, I just appreciate it. I appreciate everyone that got to play this fall. And if you're a praying person, pray for those of us out here on the West Coast that we get a chance to engage with our kids.
Amen. I know. I'm very excited about it, too. I'm in your boat as well, Coach. All right. Again, what a pleasure it was to meet you, Coach. Best of luck to you guys. Go win a championship.